Well, we're here. Yes, we are on. Isn't this just exciting, Joe?
And winter weather advisories have just been posted
for
our entire tri-state area.
Oh, don't start that nonsense with the... You know, here's the thing.
April Fools.
All right, first of all, Joe Chaffee, FiOS 1 News Long Island and FiOS 1 News New Jersey.
And Joe Rayo, FiOS 1 News Lower Hudson Valley on this first day of the new month of April.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, you actually bring up a point that I made today.
Okay.
Naturally, this is the day being April Fool's Day, and this is, you know, with social media being around for as long as it has been, of course, the overplayed April Fool's joke of putting up something regarding a snowstorm for today and all the rest of it. So I responded with this particular tweet on Twitter. So hang on one second.
And here it is.
Okay. Nor'easter snowstorm tweets on Twitter and other social media on April Fool's Day. It might be original, except that I can't see how these posts today are different from any other day. But seriously, because we just came through another winter season with the endless let's post the snow maps days and days in advance, then claim they aren't forecasts, and here we are, and it's supposed to be an April Fool's joke. It doesn't work. So stop doing it.
Well, you know, if somebody sees it, there are a few who might actually believe it, and then you have to backtrack and say, no, we were just having some fun.
Right.
And, you know, then what the heck is the whole reason of doing it then?
Exactly. So, you know, it's a silly holiday. It's not even a holiday. It's a silly, whatever you want, tradition.
Whatever.
And it's long past its usefulness once you get out of grade school, in my view.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And, you know, we're into April now, and it looks like from this vantage point, the first weekend of April looks in decent shape. If we can surmount a little bit of rain that we'll have perhaps later on Friday or Friday night, and then go into a nice clearing trend. And but before we get into that, we have to talk about the hemorrhage, the atmospheric hemorrhage that is trying to have an adverse effect on our weather for later tomorrow and into tomorrow night.
Right, and I think this, you know, there's the word nor'easter now gets thrown around with virtually any storm, any low that looks like it's coming up the East Coast, and it's also something of geography where, okay, so if you're in the Carolinas tomorrow, for example, if you're on the Carolina coast tomorrow for a number of hours, you're probably going to experience nor'easter conditions, but if you move up the coast from there, you probably won't. And then if you go back to, say, southeastern New England, later on Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, you probably will. So it's all going to be relative to whatever geography that we had. The bottom line is that this low is going to pass pretty far out to the east. So it's a matter of that back edge of precip. How far west does it get? And I'm thinking that it's going to probably sharply cut off somewhere right near New York City, plus or minus 10 or 15 miles in either direction. And then we get what we get Tuesday night. By Wednesday morning daybreak, it's on its way out, and weather conditions improve pretty quickly. I don't think this is going to be a real big deal.
Well, in the worst case scenario, I was thinking for the sound shore of lower Westchester, places like New Rochelle and Mamaroneck and Rye, for example, you might be able to see down in that area 1 or 2/10 of an inch of rainfall. But as you go further to the north and west, on up toward, let's say, northern Westchester and Putnam and Orange and Dutchess and those places, if you see anything more than just a little bit of spotty light rain or drizzle, that might be a lot. It does not look like something that's going to be overly serious precipitation-wise for the Hudson Valley. It could easily have turned out a different way. We could be talking about, 2, even 3 inches of rain and 40 and 50 mile an hour winds, but a little bit of rain tomorrow night. It's all over. If you're a late sleeper and don't have to go to work or school on Wednesday, you just might wake up to bright sunshine during the early part of the day on Wednesday, and The winds, they'll be a bit busy on Wednesday.
I don't know how. Yeah, they'll be busy, but they won't be crazy.
No.
Even along. I thought that maybe over eastern Long Island you might get fringe gales for a couple of hours. I just don't see this really as a huge deal with that low. This is the late afternoon GFS run. That low is pretty far out, and this is not the radar, by the way. This is actual, what the GFS is forecasting for precip amounts in a 6-hour period. So it's not raining all the way back into northwest New Jersey at 2 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. At least it better not be. But it just says that at some point in the prior 6 hours that there will be a little bit of what would probably be light rain. And in fact, Joe, if we pull up the precip totals from this, see, this really doesn't get, it doesn't really produce very much.
No.
You're talking about the ½ inch of liquid on this run, which was, a little further to the east. Over eastern Long Island is where the back edge of a ½ an inch of liquid is. You're talking about, as you said, at most 1 or 2/10, and maybe even closer to the 1/10 than the 2/10 on this model. The RGEM model, by the way, is about the same. Actually, it's an even drier look on the western flank of this. I just don't see this as being a big deal.
No, it's not. And yesterday it looked like, and it still may happen, a last-minute change here. But yesterday, I don't think they had any measurable precipitation touching any spot in the immediate tri-state area, and now it is pushed back a little bit to the west. But again, this does not look like a major or massive system.
So when we look at this at the upper air, I kind of described the upper air today, and I see if you agree with me. So we've got two separate streams. I think if everybody's looking at this map, you can see the southern shortwave there from Arkansas down to Louisiana. And then there's another one, it's not quite as obvious, that's in the northern part of that jet stream. So think about there's something on the shelf, okay? And you're trying to reach it. It's just a little bit too high, but you can get close enough where your hand can almost swat it. So you try to swat it to a point where you can grab onto it.
Right.
Well, I kind of think that really describes what's happening here. That northern energy is trying to phase with that southern energy, but it can't quite get there. It's not timed out correctly. And instead, it's kind of swatting at it, which is kicking it along to the northeast until it can get it to a spot where it can grab it. And it does that Wednesday morning when it's near Cape Cod. The trough becomes a little more phased, and now, of course, you wind up with a strong storm heading up into Nova Scotia at that point. But that's basically what's happening here.
Right.
We just don't have these two different shortwaves that are running around working in tandem. They're staying separate long enough so that the southern stream energy is getting punted rather than grabbed and lifted up.
Right. And as I said, it's going to be a close call, but it does not look like anything to write home about. And Wednesday, developing sunshine first thing in the morning. And the nice thing about Wednesday, as opposed to today...
Well, here's the map. Go ahead. Keep going.
As opposed to today we had temperatures in the lower Hudson Valley 12 degrees on average below normal. Should be in the 55, 56 range in the mid to late afternoon. Only made it into the mid-40s in many spots today.
Most places were mid and upper 40s today.
And Wednesday looks like temperatures will rise into the low 60s. It will be a nice day in spite of the fact that the winds will be a bit on the gusty side, gusty sunshine as I'm calling it,
right,
of 25 or so miles an hour. I don't see us, seeing any kind of wind advisory, for example.
No, I don't either.
The winds will be busy. It'll be breezy or verging on windy, if you want to call it that, but it's not going to be the kind of situation where you're going to have to be concerned about, possible power outages and tree limbs.
Yeah, no, it's nothing. It's not even remotely close to that. So, Wednesday, there's very little cold air behind this. So Thursday will probably be dry, but we've already have this next weather system coming in for Friday. I don't know, Joe. This doesn't really. This, to me, for Friday, sets up to be kind of a raw, chilly day with an onshore wind and the high where it is. It doesn't produce a whole lot of precip, but it's going to be one of those spring gloom and doom days, I think.
In a day of indifference, if you will. And but thankfully, everything is propagating or moving along at a good clip, so that we should be out of it by first thing Saturday morning, and hopefully the rest of the upcoming weekend will be one where we'll have clouds, intervals of sunshine, and back up into the 60s.
Yeah, I kind of thought, I kind of thought initially the GFS is throwing a little bit of a monkey wrench in my idea, but the European, to me, supports what my notion was, and of course that doesn't mean squat.
Yeah.
But I thought that Saturday, we're going to be dealing with a bit of an onshore flow Saturday, but I still thought overall it shouldn't be a half bad day once we get everything out of the way. And then with the next weather system maybe not getting here until Monday night or Tuesday.
Next Monday night and Tuesday.
Right, with the high eventually settling to our south, that Sunday, and possibly, well, not so much Sunday, but Monday, that there was a chance that we could see a repeat of Saturday, where we get into the 70s. The only thing is, the European supports the idea because it hangs this next low back to the west. The GFS all of a sudden has decided that it wants to run out something Sunday night. I mean, it's got precip here by Sunday evening with a low running to the lakes, and would have showers here into Monday morning, and then another system behind that for Tuesday. I'm not sure why it's doing this. There's some lead energy that's coming out that the Europeans not doing very much with. The GFS wasn't either, and now all of a sudden it has. So this is where I mentally punt the forecast down for another day or two to figure it out.
What did the Canadian do with who's the Canadian supporting, or whose camp is the?
The RGEM and the Canadian. Well, first of all, with this first thing, it's actually got more of an offshore track than the GFS does, so it has even less. And the RGEM model is kind of along the lines with this. So that moves away to the northeast, and then you're okay into Friday morning, and then you got this mess, that raw look for Friday. But then it's time to get to Saturday. The big issue for Saturday is, our clouds going to linger because you're still going to have a remnant onshore flow there, and you'll have to wait till Sunday to get some real drying.
Right.
So there's that low goes out. There's another weak front to the north that builds in, so it would improve on Sunday, and then Monday would be, you warm up to some extent with the high there. It's not in the best spot. I don't know. I was really counting on the fact that it might warm up nicely late in the week and early next week. These model runs today, would suggest that you might want to back off on that, but I'm still going to hold on to that possibility for another day or two and let the models do what they're going to do, which is basically move chess pieces around for a while.
And after all, we are talking about something a week from now, so there's still a lot of wiggle room and a lot of time for changes to take place, as you just mentioned, in the meteorological chess game of life.
Right. The only other thing I would say, and then I think we should look at the plumes, because we could at least look at the precip for tomorrow night into Wednesday, see what they're doing.
Right.
The only thing I would say, I was looking at the longer term, Joe, and typically when you get into the middle part of April and beyond, if it's a typical spring, you're going to get into a blocking pattern of some kind. It's going to get kind of blocky. You're going to be dealing with the cut-off lows running around, and then it becomes a matter of, where are you with respect to those lows?
Right.
If you're in between them, and traffic in the atmosphere has come to a standstill, then it could be great, because then you could be sitting in several days or longer of great weather.
Right.
On the other hand, if you're anywhere near any of those lows, and you're in a situation where you're in a marine flow for days and days at a time, and you're miserable. So that's a long range issue for the mid-month and beyond. So let's go. We will do this on camera. Les plumes de la Brioschi. And let's...
I'm not used to seeing you go to the plumes in a month outside of the winter season.
Well, I don't often do. I just figure it might be useful on this particular instance, if only because we're trying to figure out where the back edge of precip is. So let's take a look. So we actually have the new plumes. So it gives New York City, I just pulled up LaGuardia, so this is the new one, and it gives a whopping 11/100ths to LaGuardia. That's the average.
Okay.
So let's go to Long Island. We'll go to Islip, if it will load. So Islip, which you would expect would get a bit more, it gives 4/10ths.
Okay.
Okay. And Hampton Bays, 3/4 of an inch.
Right.
All right. And,
So
just, and just for laughs, Block Island. So Block Island is not coming up for some reason. Oh,
Oh, there they are.
Block Island, it gives a little bit over an inch. All right. So let's back off. Let's go to the Hudson Valley. So let's go to White Plains. White Plains, 2/10ths, roughly.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Capixie, 9/100ths
Of an inch.
of an inch.
Okay.
In New Jersey, we've got Newark, 12/100ths. Back to just west of Trenton, 7/100ths. Jersey Coast in Brick, it gives 2/10ths. Just whatever that is, southwest of Toms River, it gives 1/4 of an inch. And Atlantic City, if it would load, gives about 1/4 of an inch. And just for laughs, Joe, one other thing. I just want to, let's just go back. I won't go through every one, but I just want to go back one run. So Atlantic City on the old run gave 1/2 inch. So now it gives half. It cut it in half.
Okay.
New York City, it gave 3/10ths. So now, what did we say? It gave 1/10 or 12/100ths. Islip, it gave 63/100ths. On the new run, it cut it back as well. So in general, it looks like it's at least from the late afternoon stuff and some of the other things that we've seen, that everything's a little bit further to the it's a bit further to the east, a sharper cutoff to the west. Again, even if the worst case scenario winds up happening and we wind up on the higher end, I still don't think this is going to be a big deal.
No, by the time everybody wakes up, as I said on Wednesday morning, it's either going to be winding down, or again, if you're a bit of a late sleeper, it'll be all over said and done. The sun will be out, and it'll be a gusty, albeit sunny, and much milder day as opposed to what we were dealt today, where we had some sun, but temperatures didn't get out of the 40s.
Joe Rayo said not to believe it. What are we not believing?
I said yesterday,
Oh.
don't believe, that we're going to get a massive...
Well, exactly, and we're not. I hear that it's supposed... Okay, Jeanette Myers, I hear that it's supposed to rain on Friday morning, not Monday, as said previously today. This is in northeastern New Jersey. Do you concur? Okay, I think there's going to probably be some kind of rain on Friday. Friday looks like a raw day a raw, chilly, on and off rainy kind of day. Not a whole lot, but it looks like we're going to get something on Friday with the next weather system.
And our colleague, our news colleague Courtney Kane, I did the 5 o'clock FiOS 1 News today, and Courtney brought up, he said, I heard somebody told me it was going to snow on Friday. I said that had to be an April Fool's joke. I mean, I haven't heard anything about snow on Friday from any source.
I think they looked at the blue, the little blue stripe on the model that was on the northern fringe of the precip, and basically wiped out all the northeast based on that. I do think I kind of think that maybe for way up in parts of upstate New York in some elevated areas on Friday that it might be cold enough for something to happen there, but otherwise no. For the vast majority of those of you who watch us here, who are not in elevated areas in upstate New York or in central and northern New England, although we do have a few of you that are. Timothy Veltman just is one of them, and he's on.
Yep.
And there were a few others, but I'm not really too concerned. This is This is an all Ethan Kerr. I want you to, if you could remember what it was you said on my YouTube show tonight, because I thought that was really funny, and post that again. I don't remember it word for word, but it was a good it was a good quote. This is an April Fool's joke. We're actually getting 40 feet of snow and 200-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't remember. We all remember last March. We know about the 4 Easters of last March. But what happened in April? Do you remember what kind of a...
Well, we had the snow. Was it April 2nd? We talked about that last week for the opening of the Yankees. And I think there were a couple of others during last April in 2018. There were a couple of other systems that brought some snows to some areas. Not that far north and west. I think there was one that was mostly in the Hudson Valley and in Connecticut, like along 84 or north of 15. But in terms of specifics, I was struggling to remember what the weather was yesterday, and then I suddenly remembered that it actually did rain for a little while. One of the things that struck me this weekend, and I did post it, Saturday I went out to Montauk, which I hadn't gone in a while. Went all the way to the very end of the lighthouse, and one thing that surprised me was I really kind of expected it to be in the low 50s or 40s, but it wasn't that bad. There was the wind was southwest, was coming in off the water, but it wasn't a screaming gale, and it was pretty comfortable. And I was shocked. I know surfers like skiers are pretty dedicated, and they'll go out in almost anything. But there were surfers out there out in a 40-degree ocean with their wetsuits. There were a good 30 of them that were out there just having a blast and catching some of the waves that were coming in.
No, I knew that when we were talking back on Friday about the Saturday weather and talking about the sun breaking through by the afternoon, and if we get enough sun, we could see temperatures, climb well into the 60s and even touch 70. And it was already at my house, Joe. The sun was already out bright and shiny by like 9:30 in the morning. And I said, we're going for broke today. And we had 71 degrees where I live, and that was pretty darn good.
Ethan Kerr, what he said was, what do you think about next year's winter? And when I saw that, wait, you're doing the same thing I did. Let me finish. You're doing the same thing I did. It looks like a bad one with the pressure inversion in the ionosphere and the alien-induced sunspots on the sun's northwestern quadrant. Because you know what, Ethan? You know as well as I do that they are already out there with
outlooks and forecasts and whatever.
It just never stops. That's why I tweeted what I tweeted today, and so there.
We're not even out of this completely. We're 99% out of it, but we're not totally out of this yet, this past winter season.
And it might be nice that we could just kind of go the next 6 months and not really worry about that.
It's like politics. They're already talking about the 2020 elections. It's 18 months away, Election Day, but they're already talking about it as if it were next week.
Yeah, well, I can't. I can't listen to that stuff anymore. One of the problems is we work in this. We work in this environment.
Right.
So we have television sets just blaring all of this stuff, and I'm usually running around with the remote and the mute button, just getting all the sound down, because it just sounds like mush after a while, So look, enough with the winter stuff. Enjoy the spring. My daffodils, for the last 5 days, the blooms have suddenly magically appeared. They're ready to bust open. I've got Carolina wrens that for some reason I got to find out, because I thought it happened the first time. I said, okay, the wren's a little confused, but now there have been a bunch of them. They like tapping on my windows, and we don't have the screens down, so they like landing on the windows and actually tapping on the glass. And I'm not
looking at their reflection and maybe thinking that it's competition or something.
Right. Oh, okay. So they're doing the same thing that the robin did, that I have on the video of the robin on the Facebook page. I shot that last year at my daughter's in Thomaston up in Connecticut. This robin kept attacking the window.
Yes.
And then going back to the branch and then attacking it again and going back and forth. This went on for days.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a territorial thing. Okay, but you know, it also is a great reflection of the fact that my windows are squeaky clean. And a little bit of Windex goes a long way.
And it's nice to see where I live that a bluebird. Now, the state bird of New York...
Oh, that's rare.
The state bird of New York is a bluebird, but they were driven out, for all intents and purposes, by the starlings. But the last few years I've actually seen a bluebird. I saw one, or my wife saw one over the weekend, and we call that the crazy bluebird because for the same reason your friend the robin, it bangs into the...
Do you have a bluebird? You have a bluebird box?
No, but I'm in a wooded area, and you know, in another few more weeks, the hummingbirds are going to start making their appearance. So, spring is here.
I used to have a bluebird box out, and because they like to nest low, so you could just you basically like attach it to your mailbox, and they'll try to nest there. But what wound up happening was that I never was able to attract one. I always got the wrens usually took it over,
right?
Or you know, some of the other bird species,
right?
But you know, nonetheless, free housing is free housing.
You
got to grab it if it's mortgage free.
But you know, there was a long period where I didn't see a bluebird, and again because I thought the starlings, who drill holes and they more or less like push, they get rid of the wrens. What's the word I'm looking for? Those guys on the motorcycles, the rat packs.
Right, right.
They pretty much like drive the bluebirds out. But the bluebirds maybe are making a comeback now.
Could be
nice.
All right. So look, let's wrap it up because we're coming up at the top of the hour, and you have FiOS One News Lower Hudson Valley to do.
And you have FiOS One News New Jersey, especially coastal areas. Be interesting to watch this storm tomorrow night, and Long Island, Eastern Long Island too. Again, for later tomorrow and tomorrow night.
All right, so we'll see you tomorrow. Patreon members, you'll get your updates throughout the day. Of course, you'll see other stuff flying around on Facebook and on the app. In case you don't have, if you're one of the few people that has not yet downloaded the app, I'm going to put it up on the chat right now. It's absolutely free. So go ahead and download it. It works for all mobile devices. And there it is. Okay, so enjoy. Thanks very much for being here, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.